petroleum fume, but fume is of the what? Metallic particle. And gas, now gaseous form, every substance, especially the flammable material like gases, okay, we have natural gases, carbon monoxide, H2S gas, it can be present in mist form. Now, what is mist? It is like a droplet in the air, like you are doing spray, paint spray, and vapors is there. So that type is called mist when it is in the droplet form over there. Vapor, vapor is commonly related to different petroleum products like petrol vapors over there in the very small form. It is available in the workplace mostly after the work. Liquid, okay, it is the next state of matter in a liquid form. So chemical can be present also in liquid form. Fibers, like this is fiber, like cement, asbestos, okay, जो thin shape, threads like shape is called fibers. So fibers is also very harmful. Like asbestos mostly present in a workplace in the fiber form. The physical form greatly affect the hazard presented and route of entry to the body. Now, if chemical is present and you are exposed to the route of the entry, can you tell me what are the route of any substance, chemical substance can enter to our body? What are the routes of entry in our body of a chemical or biological substance?
Inhalation.
Okay, first, inhalation. The most hazardous form is inhalation, the most risky form. Then, chemical is present in liquid form. How can you go inside your body? Huh? By drinking. It is called, okay, ingestion. What is it called? Okay. It is present in the workplace and you affected due to the skin, needle stick injuries. So due to the injection, chemical or biological substance can go inside your body. Then,
Eyes.
okay, absorption point. Eyes are your skin. Mostly your skin or eyes, okay, can absorb the chemical or material into your body. Like you are one of the student today topic is blood-borne viruses. So how blood-borne viruses enter our body? It can go also through the skin absorption, okay, needle stick injuries, etc. Now we come to the form of biological agents. There are different form of biological agents in our place can be found, like fungi, farmer's lung. Mostly people also pronounce it as fungi. So fungi is mostly commonly present when the water is stagnant, standing in a place. Okay, so fungi is developed over there. Like you can see a green layer on the water. Can you check it?
Yes.
So this is a form of like food. You have a bread and you store it for a long time. So you can see the fungus on it. Bacteria like Legionnaire disease and leptospirosis. Two of the students today they have this topic, so they will explain properly what is Legionnaire bacteria and what is the Legionnaire disease and the leptospira bacteria. Basically, they will explain you. Legionnaire is water-loving soluble bacteria. It is present mostly in the stagnant water. And leptospira bacteria is mostly present in the urination of the mice and rats when it is infected. And if that bacteria of Legionnaire or leptospira goes inside your body through the roots, it can seriously create a serious disease of risk to the worker or any other person. Viruses like HIV, hepatitis B. What is mean by HIV? Human immune deficiency virus. What virus? Human immune deficiency virus. So HIV can create AIDS. Now AIDS is a disease of the which is caused by HIV due to the unsafe sexual contamination of one person of another person, contact due to the one person to the another person. So it is also very risky. Hepatitis B, and it is also very serious disease, chronic disease. Mostly people are affected by the hepatitis B, and due to it, they can be died due to it. So hepatitis B and C, the silent killer in Pakistan. Now, when chemical or biological agents are there and it infected any kind of person, the effect will be of two types. One is called acute effect and the other one is chronic health effects. What do we mean by acute? Short-term effect, high level of exposure, short exposure time, quick effect, exposure to high concentration of chlorine gas or H2S or carbon monoxide. Did you remember the video of EDCO where 3 people have been killed by H2S gas? Now, when the concentration is higher over there of any kind of chemical or gases, and you expose for a short time, and it creates serious risk. This is called what? This is called acute. What is it? Acute. Okay. And chronic, long-term effect, low level of exposure, long exposure time, e.g., multiple exposure to asbestos or any kind of dust like wood dust, cement dust. Even some of you are in our society, people are smoking. They say nothing to me happened. But what if you are continuously smoking? Like yesterday, I shared in my group one of the Syrian young boy. He was vaping, continuously vaping. He was thinking that vaping will not affect his lungs, but unfortunately, his lungs is seriously affected. Practical smoking we are doing. So vaping is. So if you are exposing yourself for low level of concentration for a continuous long-term effect, like year, 2 year, so it cannot be replaceable. Mostly both are dangerous, acute and chronic, like organic solvent, alcohol. So people think that acute is serious, but do you know that acute can be mostly after the immediate intervention of the medical board can be reversed, but chronic disease mostly irreversible. For example, unfortunately, if someone liver have been completely damaged due to hepatitis B or C, then at that time the liver cannot be heal again. Similarly, the lungs. So the chronic effects like mental illness, chronic mental illness, it may not be reversible. So both are very, very serious. Acute is also serious and chronic is also serious. Now, classification of chemical hazards to health. Which kind of classification are there? The CLP regulation. What do you mean by CLP regulation? Classification, labeling, packaging of substances and mixture. CLP regulation 1272/2008 European regulation. It states that chemical can be found in different form, like physicochemical, which is highly flammable or explosive or oxidizing. Health effects, the chemical can be also give you disease, like toxic or carcinogenic. Now, what do we mean by toxic? It can kill you due to toxicity, zehरीले. And what do we mean by carcinogenic? Which can cause cancer, like asbestos, silica dust. It can cause serious cancer to the people. Environmental effect. Sometimes chemical can also damage the harmful to aquatic life. What do we mean by the sea lives? You know, if seas are there, there are also lives. Fishes are there, other living things are there. So some chemical is also environmental effect. It can damage our environment. It can damage our water. It can damage our air, our land. So some chemical are also have environmental effect. So this is our 7.1. I hope so now you know about the chemical and substances and the different types. Now 7.2. Whose presentation is 7.2? 7.2. Okay. So 7.2 and 7.3. Okay. Now we come to 7.3. 7.2 will be, when he is ready, he will. 7.3. Occupational exposure limits. Anyone have it? Okay. Please come.
लाइट को ऑफ करें।
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. My name is Shahzad Razak. I prepared this presentation on Chapter 7, 1.3 Occupational Exposure Limits. Occupational exposure limits, there are no agreed upon global standards of occupational exposure limits (OEL). OELs for chemicals are known as workplace exposure limits, like WELs. WELs have legal status under COSHH and can be found listed in HAC Guidance Note EH40. Definition of workplace exposure limit WEL: the maximum concentration of an airborne substance averaged over reference period to which worker may be exposed to by inhalation. Long-term and short-term limits. Wells are time-weighted average TWA exposures. In other words, they are calculated by measuring a person's average exposure over a specific reference period of time. There are two reference periods of time used are short-term exposure time STEL, which is 15 minutes, combat ill health effects of being exposed to very high levels of the substance for short period of time, like minutes. Long-term exposure time LTEL, like 8 hours, combat the ill health effects of being exposed to relatively low concentrations of substance for many or all hours of every working day through an entire working lifetime.
Loudly.
Limitations of exposure limits. Wells are designed only to control and the absorption of harmful substances into the body following the inhalation. They take no account of individual personal susceptibility. They do not take into account the synergic or combined effect of mixtures of substance, e.g. use of multiple substances. They may become invalid if the normal environmental conditions are changed, e.g. changes in the temperature. Some limits do not consider all the possible health effects of a substance, e.g. impact to the skin such as dermatitis. International standards, different standards in different regions of the world. In EU, there are indicative limit values. In US, there are several different groups recommended what OEL should be. The American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists, ACGIH, sets the threshold limit value TLV. The National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, recommends recommended exposure limits, RELS. The American Industrial Hygiene Association, AIHA, has developed workplace environmental exposure limits, WEELs. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, enforces Department of Labor permissible exposure limits, PELs.
Good.
7.4, control measures.
Important slide.
The need to prevent or control exposure. Preventing exposure to hazardous substances is most effective way. Where exposure cannot be prevented, it should be controlled. If there is an OEL relevant to chemical, then exposure must be controlled below OEL.
First of all, the 7.3, I will explain you a little about the OEL, because maybe you not properly, maybe some got it, okay? So, what do you mean by OEL? Occupational exposure limits. As in the first element, you have understand that chemical can be present in different form in any workplace. So now OEL depend on the concentration. Like the concentration of dust is there, vapor is there, okay, fume is there, and you are going to expose the worker to it, like in a confined space. Is it okay? So first of all, you have to check the concentration level. If it is high, the concentration is high, then you have to expose the worker for a short period of time. Occupational exposure limit. There are some limits, okay, for every, especially for toxic or hazardous substances. So if the concentration is high and you want to expose the worker, then you will use the permit of STEL. What do we mean by STEL? Short term exposure limit, which is mostly about 15 minutes of work to be there for the worker. And if the concentration is low and the worker is needed to work over here, then you can expose worker for long time. That permit is called LTEL. What is it called? What do you mean by LTL? Long term exposure limit, which is mostly of 8 hours in the day. But the problem is in LTEL, maybe the worker going inside a confined space, for example, in a work area, and he is working over there for 2 hours. Then he come back from there, and after some time again he went over there. Then again come back. Now you have to note the concentration level and the time of exposure, how much time he is exposed. Now you have to calculate the LTL by TWA. What do you mean by TWA? Time weighted average. For daily or weekly exposure of long time exposure limits, you can calculate LTL by what? By TWA. What do you mean by TWA? Time weighted average. So you have to calculate it by the time weighted formula, average formula. The time and the concentration level. So for example, there are 3 or 4 exposure he is exposes. So you have to plus all and divide by number of time he is exposed, and you will find TWA, time weighted averages. The proper formula is there in your book. You have to apply it for the TWA. Now another important thing, the OEL is also called in UK WEL. What does it call? Work exposure limit. In America, like in OSHA, it is called PEL. What do you mean by PEL? Permissible exposure limits. In Europe, it is called ILV, indicated limit value. In America, also it is called WEEL. So there are different names, but the main idea is the same. The concept is same. The terminologies may be different in different countries, in different workplaces. But you got the concept? If the concentration is high of any chemical or biological substance, especially the chemical vapors etc., and you are exposing yourself by inhalation. This is the limitation also, because you have learned that there are 4 routes of exposure. So OEL is only used for the inhalation, where worker can be exposed due to the inhalation. So OEL is mostly used for the inhalation process, where worker can be exposed. But you also know that inhalation is the most risky condition where worker can be exposed. So you got now the knowledge. What is OEL? First of all, you have to check the environment, how much concentration is there. Also, keep in mind, there is another terminology, which is called IDLH. What does it call? Immediate danger to life and health. So in Google, you search today, what are the IDLH of different substances, like H2S, carbon monoxide, immediate danger to life or health. Is it okay? So when a worker have this condition, the concentration is too much higher, like for example H2S is more than 1000 ppm, then the worker will not be exposed for even for short time. That terminology is called, that point is called, what does it called? IDLH. When the IDLH is crossed, you will not allow the worker to expose to any kind of the exposure level. Is that okay now? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, now please continue.
7.4 control measures. The need to prevent or control exposure. Preventing exposure to hazardous substances is the most effective way. Where exposure cannot be prevented, it should be controlled. If there is an OEL relevant to the chemical, then exposure must be controlled by OEL, below the OEL. The practical control of exposure. The general hierarchy of control can be applied to controlling the exposure. Elimination or substitution, eliminating the process of type of work, e.g. outsourcing a paint spraying operation to another company. Changing the way that the work is done, e.g. screwing rather than gluing. Disposing the unused stock of substance that is no longer required. Substituting the hazardous substances for a non-hazardous alternative, e.g. switching from an irritant to a non-hazardous floor cleaner. Substituting the hazardous substance for one that is lower hazard classification, e.g. switching from a corrosive to an irritant.
Corrosive.
Corrosive.
Corrosive. Corrosive mean which can
Damage.
infect your skin. Okay, damage to skin.
Process change, applying a solvent by brush rather than spraying reduces airborne mist and vapor. Vacuuming rather than sweeping keeps the dust levels down. Reduced exposure time, there is a simple relationship between the length of time a person is exposed to a hazardous substance and the dose of substance that they receive. Double the time, double the dose, half the time, half the dose. Minimize the time period over which people are working with hazardous substances. If STEL 15-minute TWA exists for a substance, then this limit must not be exceeded. Enclosure and segregation, totally enclose a hazardous substance inside process, machinery, storage tank, etc. Segregate the hazardous substance in the workplace may also be possibility to keep the people and hazardous substance away from each other. But local exhaust ventilation.
It is very important, okay? Understand it. Sometimes we have exhaust system like on the wall, but sometimes we use local exhaust ventilation. What is the benefit of it? You will understand it now. First of all, you will explain, and I will give you the brief explanation, okay?
A typical LEV system consists of intake hood, ductwork, filter system, fan, and exhaust duct.
And exhaust.
Effectiveness of an LEV system will be reduced by poorly positioned intake hood, damaged ducts, excessive amounts of contamination, ineffective fan due to low speed or lack of maintenance, blocked filters, build-up containment in the ducts, sharp bends in the ducts, unauthorized addition to the system. LEV systems should be routinely inspected and maintained to ensure their ongoing effectiveness through routine visual inspection to check the integrity of the system or signs of damage. Planned preventive maintenance may include replacing filter, lubricating the fans bearing, etc. Periodic testing to ensure that air velocities through the system are adequate. Testing of LEV systems on a 14-month basis is a legal requirement of COSHH. Dilution ventilation. Dilution ventilation operates by diluting the containment concentration.
Yesterday I explained you. First of all, little bit on LED. Like you know, dust is here. I'm working over here on the woodworking, and dust is here. So if exhaust is over there and there, the dust will be continuously spread out all of the area. But if you have like in your kitchen, you have a hood, now dust is here, it will collect the dust and go through the filter and extract to the ear. So the dust will not spread out on the all area. So for this purpose, what we use? LED. What we use? LED. So this is called local exhaust ventilation system. Here, before some time, I visited as a safety consultant in one of the factory there in Peshawar. Pak German were working. It is basically the combined factory developed by the Germany and Pakistan. And all KPK furniture are making over there. So all there is a big hall and different kind of carpentry machine are there, equipment are there. But you will find very, very little dust. Because with every machine, there is a LEV system. So the dust is extracting, it goes outside and the hall is free from mostly from the dust. So LEV is very, very effective. Now, if LEV is not possible, what can you do? Dilution of ventilation. What can you do?
Dilution.
Okay, now he will explain what is dilution.
Dilution ventilation operates by diluting the containment concentration in the general atmosphere to an acceptable level by changing their air efficiently in the workplace over a given period of time. Their air changes might be passive by providing low level or high level vents or active using powered fans. Limitations: they are not suitable for the control of substances with high toxicity. They do not cope well with the sudden release of large quantities of containment. They do not work well for dust. They do not work well where the containment is released at a point source. That areas may exist where high concentrations of the containment are allowed to accumulate.
Sometime, okay, in the area can possible that the dust is still remain over here. Like I told you, LPG. Now it is heavier than here. H2S, this is heavier than here. So it mostly found in drains. Okay, it may not be ventilated properly. So normal ventilation, open the window or doors of the room. It is called, okay, dilution of ventilation, passive dilution. Active dilution, if you want to dilute the air, okay, ventilation in urgent time, then you use what? Active dilution, phase etc.
Respiratory protective equipment.
Very, very important topic.
RPE. Definition is any type of PPE specifically designed to protect the respiratory system, e.g. self-contained BA. There are two main categories of RPE, the respirator, second is breathing apparatus. Respirators, filtering face piece respirators, the use and benefit: it is cheap, easy to use, disposable.
First of all, understand, RPE, respiratory protective equipment. One is respirator and the other one is breathing apparatus. What is the difference? Respirator, you filter the air present over there and utilize it. Like you are using face mask. So you are utilizing the same air present over there, but after filtration. But sometimes the environment is so much hazardous that you cannot utilize the air over present over there. Then you use what? Breathing apparatus. In breathing cylinder, okay? Mostly in the breathing apparatus, okay? In the breathing apparatus, mostly you use outside air by external cylinders, where oxygen cylinder are there. But the limitation is, he will explain you. When you are using the cylinder as a breathing apparatus, it may be for a short time. You can work it with the short time, not for a long time. Like you are wearing mask and you are continuously, okay, utilize the air over there. So this is the difference between these two. Now you got it? Respiratory protective equipment will be of two types. What do we mean two types? Respirator, and the other one is breathing apparatus. Very good.
Filtering face piece respirators, uses and benefits: it is cheap, easy to use, disposable. Limitations: low level of protection, does not seal against the face effectively,
Good.
uncomfortable to wear. Half mask or orinasal respirator,
Chicken you group, the pictures are there, half mask or nasal respirator, all full face respirator. So in book also it's included picture also with you.
uses and benefits: good level of filtration, good fit, achievable, easy to use. Limitations are no built-in eye protection, negative pressure inside face piece, uncomfortable to wear.
Good.
Full face respirators, uses and benefits: a good level of filtration, good fit, achievable, protects the eyes. Limitations are restricts the vision, negative pressure inside face piece, uncomfortable to wear.
Very good.
Powered respirator.
Powered. Okay.
Powered respirator, uses and benefits: intermediate level of filtration, air movement cools wearer, air stream prevents inward leaks. Limitations: heavy to wear, no tight face seal, limited battery life.
Yes. powered, like it has power, okay? Maybe a battery is EDC, so it is more time you can utilize that due to this.
Compressed airline BA. This is a breathing apparatus. Use and benefits. Supply of air is not time restricted for a compressor, and if a compressor is used, positive pressure inside facepiece wearer is not burdened with the cylinder. Limitations are hose can be long but not endless.
Okay.
Self-contained VA. User benefits complete freedom of movement, positive pressure inside facepiece.
It is mostly called SCABA. What does it call? Self-contained breathing apparatus. The other one you see compressed air line, where compressor is used and you got air from that area, okay? But it is mostly, okay, the limitation is when the hose is there, it cannot be, you can go, only remain to the hose. You cannot freely move in the confined space ETC. But what is the benefits of the self-contained breathing apparatus? Okay, you have the cylinder, you can move freely, but also have limitation, like it may be for a short time. Okay, you can move completely, positive pressure inside facepiece, but the supply of air is
Supply of air is time restricted,
Very good.
equipment is bulky and
And
heavy, more technical
technical
training is
training.
required. Selection, use and maintenance of respiratory protective equipment. Factors affecting suitability of RPE, concentration of the containment and hazardous nature, physical form of the substance, e.g. dust or vapor, level of protection offered by RPE, presence or absence of normal oxygen concentrations, duration of time that it must be worn, compatibility with other items of pipe that
other PPE.
PPE that must be worn, shape of the user's face and influence on facial hair that might interfere with an effective seal, physical requirement of the job such as the need to move freely, physical fitness of the wearer. Users of RPE should receive appropriate information, instruction and training. In particular, they should understand how to fit the RPE, how to test it to ensure that it is working effectively, the limitations of the item, any cleaning requirements, any maintenance requirement, e.g. how to change the filter.
Good.
Other personal protective equipment, hand protection, gloves, short cuff and gauntlets, long cuff can give protection against chemical, lead, acid, alkali and solvent, biological agents, jags, virus in blood, physical injury, leg, knife cut with associated infection risk. Eye protection, safety spectacles, these offer a degree of front and side protection but don't completely encase the eye.
Encased means protect the eye.
Encase the eye. Safety goggles, these completely encase the eye and offer better splash and impact resistance. Face visors, these cover the eyes and face, so offering the high degree of protection. Body protection, overalls prevent direct skin contact with the agents such as grease. Aprons prevent spillage and splashes from the getting into normal work wear, soaking through the skin. Whole body protection, the entire body is encased in the protective chemical resistance suit. Personal hygiene and protection regimes. It is essential that good hygiene practices are adopted as appropriate, such hand washing routines when leaving the workrooms, careful removal and disposal of potential contaminated PPE to prevent cross-contamination to normal clothes, prohibition of eating, drinking and smoking in work areas.
Personal hygiene is also very important. Why? Can you tell me? If worker is not having proper caring of personal hygiene, what can cause it?
It can cause bacteria.
It can cause whole inside bacteria, contamination. Like if his hand are dirty and he is eating with that dirty hand, so the contaminated material can go inside his body. So training on the personal hygiene is very important for your worker. Okay, try to give proper training for personal hygiene. Why they have to keep himself properly clean in the workplace. Okay, personal hygiene and vaccination. Sometimes the disease can be prevented, not protected. If you got the disease, you cannot, maybe the protection is not possible. So prevention is better. Like for hepatitis B, okay, you can use vaccination for the hepatitis B, certain diseases, viruses protection, so you can use what? Vaccination. Health surveillance.
There are two types of health surveillance commonly used carried out. Health monitoring, where the individual is examined for symptoms and signs of disease that might be associated with agent in question. For example, a worker in bakery might have a lung function test to check for signs of asthma. Floor dust is a respiratory resistor capable of causing occupational asthma. Biological monitoring, where a blood, urine, or breath sample is taken and analyzed for presence of agent itself or its breakdown. Production, for example, a worker in a car battery manufacturing plant might have a blood sample to take test for the levels of lead bloods in the levels of lead in the bloodstream.
Thank you. So, very good presentation delivered and made by whom? Mr. Faizan. So, I hope so now you have all the knowledge of this topic properly. So, Faizan Razak, thank you so much. Any question in this topic, in the chemical? Have any question?
Sir, oxygen was, is also gas,
Sorry?
and also gas, oxygen cylinder.
Yes. If it is an, every cylinder, if an oxygen cylinder, LPG cylinder, okay, acetylene cylinder, it must have a bore pressure. Like CNG cylinder you see in the cars blast. Why? Due to work pressure, due to the poor condition of the cylinder. So similarly, the oxygen is also a cylinder. So if the pressure is increased, the bar pressure is in the inside of any cylinder, so the chances are that it can be exploded. If you check today on the YouTube, this fire cylinder, fire extinguisher, when people didn't check properly, especially the base, and it is rusty, and they operated, when they operated, it is blast. So it creates serious injuries. Sometimes it kills people also. Because it's only have about 10 bar pressure in the oxygen, the fire extinguisher. So the fire extinguisher also create a serious risk. So every cylinder which have pressure and it is poor pressure, so the risk will be of the explosion. Or it is in the poor condition. Like you are placing cylinder outside exposure to the rainwater or weather condition, bad weather condition. So as a safety professional, when you are checking any kind of cylinder, you have also to check the physical condition of the cylinder, the expiry date on the cylinder. Is it valid or not? Okay, and the EPI certificate of that cylinder. Like CNG, by regulation, it is required that every 5 years it must be tested by certified companies, but unfortunately, people don't know about it, and they didn't properly certify it, so the blast has happened, and the people killed it due to it. So this is very, very important. I hope so. Now you have the idea of this topic of the chemical exposure, okay? OEL, control measure of the chemical exposure. So, very important topic, properly learned it, so to utilize it in the future. Now next topic, what is the topic? अब दूसरा शुरू कर दो, इसको सेव कर दो। अल्लाह को प्यारा ना हो जाए तो कैसे हो भाई?
यार जो प्रेजेंटेशन है उसमें तो
इसको ना करें
आगे सारे presentation